This is Checkers, and I do not have any leaked information about Starfield. I don't have any pictures of Star Citizen or No Man's Sky that I'm going to show you, but we're going to talk about both. And we will talk about the possibility of something like Starfield, this supposed Bethesda Sci-Fi game. I start out the way I did because I see so many people talking about leaks and there's no real information. But it is possible to come up with some educated guesses about what might actually be happening. So let's give that a whirl. Now, it's been a few years now since Star Citizen has been in crowdfunding, and it's made all the monies. It's made a lot of monies, and you know, that was probably bound to catch some folks' attention. And then, of course, there's No Man's Sky. Well, No Man's Sky may not have turned out the way that many people would have wanted, but it did also get a lot of attention. So let's say a few years ago, maybe in the order of 3 or 4 years ago, Bethesda starts to think about, what should we do next? And ever since the Elder Scrolls Arena, that very first amazing Elder Scrolls, the designer's note, and I've done a video about this, they talked about wanting to do a sci-fi game about being a captain of your own ship and going on this epic journey. So this isn't something that Bethesda has never mentioned before. This goes back to the very beginning of the Elder Scrolls. And I don't think it takes a great leap in logic to see Bethesda, or at least the folks who control the decisions at Bethesda, in a room going, okay, you know what? Star Citizen has not even really made a game yet, because let's face it, this is 2013, 2014, and they've got all the monies. And then there's No Man's Sky that has a really pretty demo they're showing, and the mainstream media has gone nuts. I mean, the guys on late night talk shows talking about No Man's Sky, and the late night talk show people are at least pretending to be interested, because let's be honest, they probably don't really have any sense of how gaming works. Someone asked me recently what I do, how I do that. How do I make videos about things on level 35 when I would have to get to level 35? Level 35 presumption being of Donkey Kong type games, or Pac-Man, not level 35 as in how high a level is your character. So mainstream folks don't really have a great idea about games, but we already know that, right? But they're paying attention to it. So Bethesda gets together and they say, you know what, we've had this idea about making a sci-fi game since the beginning. And now we've got the money, we've got the support, we've got some time, we need a new engine. So either one of two things will happen. Either it will be the last game on this engine, or it will be a first iteration of the new engine. And why is that? Well, if it's the last iteration of this engine, it will be to buy time for the creation of the new engine. If it's the first iteration of the new engine, it will be to test it out for the Elder Scrolls, for Fallout. Don't expect Fallout 5 or the Elder Scrolls 6 to roll out quickly. I've talked about this in a video as well. I'll put that in the cards. Cards are the little circle, small letter I, upper right-hand corner. I'll try and put it on the end annotations too, or the end screen. But the reason we're not going to see the Elder Scrolls 6 or Fallout 5 quickly is because they're going to want that new engine. And they're not going to risk those major franchises, those very valuable, very profitable franchises on a new engine. They're going to give that to one of the two upcoming new games that they've talked about. Whether it's this first one or not, I don't know. Because like I said, I do not have any leaked information. All I have is what I can speculate about. But my speculation is that they will use one of these two new games to be the first iteration of the engine, to, you know, basically give it a run, kick the tires, see how it steers, how much fuel it costs to go from A to B. And then, eventually, we will see The Elder Scrolls 6 and then Fallout 5. And I do have to say that I look forward to a sci-fi game by Bethesda. I really do. Bethesda is amazing. People give Bethesda a lot of flack, and I think some people think that I do too, but I don't. I get it. There are so many systems working in these games that bugs are going to slip in. There are going to be cracks in the space-time continuum that no one can see until a million people have gone through various iterations of play and gone, oh wow, you know what, this happened. And I'm okay with that, because they're doing that out of ambition, and I can forgive a lot for ambition. I can't forgive a lot for being greedy. I can't forgive a lot for being lazy or wanting to kick something out quickly, but if you are ambitious, I can forgive many things. And Bethesda is and always has been ambitious. And, you know, that is going to make a difference, not just in the Elder Scrolls and Fallout, but in this new sci-fi game that we're calling Starfield. So what do I mean when I say they're ambitious? Well, okay, you can play another game, oh, you know, say like Far Cry 5, and it can be a vast open world, and it can be beautiful, but what you cannot do in Far Cry 5 is take, oh, this Cavalier's Ripper, throw it on the ground, and have a fair degree of security in knowing that if you come back in an hour, it's still going to be there. If you put it in a chest, it's still going to be there. Saving at any given point in the game. These things are not easy, and they're not cheap in resources or in development. That's why Far Cry 5 doesn't do it. That's why other RPGs don't do it. And that's why this engine here in Fallout 4 and Skyrim, it's why it hasn't changed. Because it's not the beauty, it's not the textures, it's not the lighting that's going to be the challenge. It's the persistence of the world and the scale that's going to be that absolute challenge. How do you keep this game able to create a save that leaves items, weapons, bodies on the ground for however long, basically until either someone comes along to pick it up, or eventually, if it's on the ground like the Ripper back there, Fallout 4 just gets bored with it and purges it. But Fallout 4 doesn't get bored very easily. Most games will get bored and purge the area the instant you leave it. If not, certainly by your next login or loading. And that's what makes, part of what makes a Bethesda game a Bethesda game. And they're only going to expand on this. Aside from the sci-fi nature of Starfield, you have to imagine that they were also thinking about, wow, there's a lot of games building things right now. Survival crafting, we did a little bit of that in Fallout 4. How much more can we do in Starfield, or whatever we are going to call it? That could be an interesting question. And I know there are people who don't really care for survival crafting, and, you know, I don't know how they will work it out. But they will. And there's our Cavalier's Ripper. I'm picking it back up, not because I don't want to test it, but because I don't want to forget it. And forgetting is far more of a problem for me than trusting Fallout 4 to leave it where it is. So, Starfield, I do believe, will be a thing. And I have a really, really good feeling about this E3. Not because someone said they had a leak, not because Bethesda didn't do anything last year. I've just got a good feeling about it. And you can take my feeling for what it is. Just a feeling. Or you can also look back at things like me predicting exactly what would happen with loot boxes weeks before it happened. Would have been earlier, but we were back in the time when things were a little bit squirrely about being allowed to be uploaded. Anyway, I just wanted to take a few minutes and talk about this potential sci-fi game, Starfield. I am very excited about it. I, like I said, have a really good feeling, and I feel like it's about logically within time, within the development cycles as well. Remember, however many games they release, there's always going to be a minimum of 2 years between games. That's not because maybe they couldn't crank it out faster. It's going to be because if you, say, launch Skyrim in 1 year and you launch Fallout 4 the next year, you may or may not like both games, but a lot of people do. You don't want to step on your own tail by launching Fallout 4 1 year after Skyrim, because that sales tail, in other words, the time period in which the game continues to be sold and can sell DLC, well, that lasts about 2 years for Bethesda's games. Longer if you count Skyrim. So we're looking at a minimum, I think, of 2 years between games. So if we see Starfield this year, we would have a potential of seeing whatever the next new property they're working on is in 2020. But I think it's more likely going to be 3 or 4 years between. Just because, like I said, these are big, complex things with many systems that other developers wouldn't even try. And that's going to take some time, effort, brilliance, and money. So, you know, I love Bethesda. I really do. I want to see the next Elder Scrolls more than you can know. And, you know, as I've said in the past, we should update it plus or minus 2 years of 50 or 52. You take your choice. Anyway, I would love to see it, because the sooner I see the Elder Scrolls 6, the sooner I'll see the magnum opus that they're planning for the Elder Scrolls. And I really want to see that. Plus, I really want to see an Elder Scrolls with lots and lots and lots of Khajiit. But, yeah. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Starfield, and, you know, I want to see them very badly. I want to see the new games, but I do understand it does take time. We can't look at the games of the past and assign the same development cycles to them. It's taking longer and longer and longer, but we should still be appreciative of what they're giving us, because this is amazing. It really is. Alrighty folks, I would like to say thank you for watching. I hope you found the video thought-provoking and maybe just a little entertaining. I would like to invite you to subscribe, like, and share if you so desire, and to ask you, above all, to please take care.